Hey there, and welcome to the People Who Help People podcast. This is the spot for HR and people ops pros who are all about building better businesses by putting people first. We chat with founders and experts who've been there, done that, and are generous enough to share what actually works. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello again. Today I'm happy to be speaking with Richie Lampani, co-founder and chief of recruiting operations at Underground Administration, about how AI is shaping the future of consulting while building unbreakable hiring systems. In addition to running Underground Administration, a staffing and recruiting agency in the metro Atlanta area, Richie is also the author of Head and Heart, Winning the AI Recruiting War. Richie, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, Richie, first tell me about Underground Administration. That's a rather unique name for a recruiting agency. How did you come about getting that name?
A lot of people say that. We usually go by UA or Underground Admins. The reason it's that is because Amy Israeli, our founder, before she got into recruiting, really started it as a fractional bookkeeping and HR company, which we still do. The recruiting kind of took over, but when we combined, we talked about it, and I just thought it was really cool. I came from the music industry, and Amy named it Underground because there's a rock club called the Underground in Atlanta, and that's what she named it after. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. I have an old mentor that his club was called the Intersection, and he kept it when he moved it and upgraded because he wanted it to have that kind of like a secret feel. And when when we talked about renaming it, that was what stood out. It was like, Dave kept the Intersection because it was supposed to be this kind of exclusive, like not everybody knows about it. And I think that's how we do staffing too. We're not status quo. If you know me, if you follow me at all, I don't do things the same as everybody else. It tends to work. It establishes credibility quick because I'm not lying. And it's pretty clear that I don't know how in my posting and stuff like that.
So, a couple of vectors I could follow there. First one, the music background. What are the best things you draw from your music background into how you run your business?
Yeah, well, it was a talent buyer, marketing director, and a writer. So writing is easy. The content, I'm a natural marketer from that. No one taught me how to market. We did it from guerrilla tactics from the shows we did. We were a small-ish club in the Midwest, 1,500 seats. We packed a lot of shows. We booked a lot of artists that were new and up and coming, and eventually booked, major marquee artists at our club that shouldn't have gone there, but because of our grit, we were able to draw them in. It's kind of the same way with recruiting, right? I have to establish my relevancy in the market, and then I can get people to talk to me that probably normally wouldn't hit my clients because they would never see the job. So I can go ideally from like working for DoD, we have really high level stuff. It's more consulting, but coming out of big shops, Microsoft, whatever, Cavalier, anything really that's big and known, we can pull those people into a different environment, mostly because I know how to talk to people and how to pitch my clients effectively. So that's kind of where the agency part comes in, and the writing part's obvious. And then the marketing, if you've ever seen my content, I'm pretty good at what I do with the marketing part of it. I do use a lot of AI lately. It just saves time, but I also can do graphic design in Illustrator and Photoshop too. So this is just a little cheat code for me, and I always edit and change it before I post.
You mentioned a few clients, and they were pretty big names: DoD, Microsoft, Wells Fargo. You mentioned before the show. So, do you have a target niche in your recruiting specialty?
For me, so we don't work with Microsoft. I mentioned that stealing from Microsoft. You don't really have to steal anymore because they lay off people regularly, so they're usually available eventually. DoD is just kind of one of those things. We work a lot. I've done a lot of military podcasts. A lot of my family, my nephew just came out of the Marine Corps, and my uncles and grandpa and my dad and everybody have been in the military. I didn't, so I won't claim it, but I've done some podcasts, worked with a lot of government agencies and startups. Most recently with DOW now through DIA for some zero trust encryption stuff. And then one of our first clients did homomorphic encryption for the 3-letter agencies. Pretty high level stuff. Really, honestly, that's just grit and A lot of companies won't do it. They don't understand it. So we had to learn a lot before we got into it. But also, I've been in recruiting for almost 14 years. So I've touched everything with tech. Yeah, the other clients like Wells Fargo is just one of those things. My brothers worked with them forever. We filled 70 roles with them a couple of years back in compliance and IT audit. So they trust him specifically, even though I recruited for it. He's the face on that part of it. My clients primarily are referrals, or it has interesting tech, so I chase after it. We work a lot with there's a company that does VR on training on big equipment. They build the software to run the VR. Like, let's say you've gotten a giant Caterpillar excavator, they build a VR module that the employees can train on before they ever set foot in that equipment. So it's a safety thing. And they're also developing some applications for medical use. So maybe surgeons can go train on a VR instead of using cadavers and what have you, or, even phlebotomy, things like that. So that's one of our oldest clients too. Mostly recently, we've been doing some AI integration for a big company they build HVAC and plumbing for federal prisons and BMW and things like that. Our niche is it has to be somehow technical usually, but we end up on weird stuff because we're good. So we've got a company I'm waiting on a contract for that does nuclear power. They have a lot of PM roles. I'm a certified PMP, so I try to attack those roles too because I understand it. So our niche is tech and sales with and good people and good clients that want to be serious about hiring.
Thank you for taking me down that route. There's a lot of things that I connect with. One, I was in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I ran a motor pool. In my motor pool, we worked on Caterpillars, although of course they were painted green, and we didn't have VR to train people how to use them. But that sounds exciting. And then from the cadavers standpoint, my wife was an occupational therapist, and one of the things that she particularly enjoyed was dissecting a cadaver just to understand how the human body works. So the fact that VR is now aiding that process is an exciting thing to get involved in while you're doing your day job, which is finding folks to go add to the power of those platforms, if you will. You touched on AI, and one of the themes we wanted to talk about today was how AI is shaping the future of consulting. So, yes, you use a little bit of AI for some of your writing, but what else do you use, and how else do you think it's shaping the future of consulting?
Okay, so that's a good segue for talking about my book. We'll get to that. But so within recruiting specifically, right now, and what I like to say is it's good as a seasoning, but not the whole dish, right? So if you put too much salt on your meal, unless you're crazy, you're going to wreck it. So it's that over seasoning that's dangerous right now. And that's actually what my book is about. You'll see in recruiting that there will be lower level positions because AI is not going to be able to take over the manpowers where they have to literally get people in the office to do those applications and interview face to face so that people can put eyes on them. But the middle, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, the middle is dead. If you're in an agency where all you do all day is collect resumes online and then turn around and send those resumes back out without really developing a personal connection with those candidates, you're not needed anymore. A lot of why we're alive is because we integrate AI how we need to. I use it to help with my daily tasks, marketing, not so much writing posts. I know a lot of people do that, but job descriptions, not writing the job description, but editing, making it cleaner. I really do use it a lot in cleaning things up. My mind doesn't work like everybody else's. Sometimes I say words backwards. So if I'm typing like that, I can get AI to make it more cohesive for somebody else. But I have to put my human touch into it though, because if I'm reading an AI job description, I can tell it's AI because it doesn't have the what's really important. And AI can say, well, 10% bonus is salary. This is what you're going to be doing day to day. But what's the culture really like? So if I'm not that person writing about it, it's not going to come across in the job description. And now more than ever, people want to see something. They want to see, what are you offering me outside of this dollar amount? for the top companies. So there's got to be that personal touch in recruiting. It's going to go more consulting. There won't be room for this spamming out resumes, spamming in applicants, spamming everything. And we're using AI like that. There's a ton of different companies that are generating these massive amounts of resumes for clients, but it's a lottery ticket. You might as well literally go buy a lottery ticket. You have better chances of placing somebody if that's all you're doing.
So I heard you say two things that stuck with me. AI is good as a seasoning, but not as the whole meal.
Mm-hmm.
So we can definitely over season with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And two, that you like to create first and then have it clean up. Whereas a lot of
Right.
people don't enjoy the blank sheet of paper and they prefer the create first, or excuse me, use
Right.
it to create and then they edit.
Right.
And so that's an important distinction.
But that's problematic too, right? And I just saw an argument about this today, how colleges and high schools are banning the use of AI. But then you need to know how to use it in the workplace, right? And it seems counterintuitive, but here's the problem. If we stop young people from letting their brains develop in a way to be creative and teach them that you don't have to think, put in, write me a post or write me a paper about, World War II or the war in 1913, whatever. Write me this, and then they edit it. Is it original product? No, it didn't come from any place of originality. So we're teaching them not to have that initial thought now, and they can just lean on AI. And then later, when you get to the workplace, you don't have the skills to put the right prompting or input in to get the right output. So garbage in, garbage out, just like anything. I'm sure you've heard that your whole life. But for me, I'm a published writer anyway. So before the book, I was a published columnist in the music industry. I wrote a satirical dating column. It took me a long time to really embrace AI. I hated it. There's probably, if you went 2 years, 3 years back in my LinkedIn, there's probably me trash talking ChatGPT. Now I have 3 subscriptions to different things for different uses, but it's that initial input. If I don't take the time to put that first piece in, I'm just going to get something regurgitated that's been given out a million times. And that's why you don't see it usually in my content, that it's not just the same thing you're seeing every day. These people are not thinking about, and that's fine. They are getting their point across, but it doesn't make them stand out amongst the rest of the noise unless they already have a follower count. So what happens when those people are gone and it's just the same regurgitated stuff over and over and over again? Just no one's gonna care, and that's the end of that. Anyway, yeah, I believe in creating first and editing.
Very good. So back to the book.
Okay.
Do you have a copy nearby?
I do. So this is my book, Head and Heart. It's winning the AI recruiting war. I did edit this with AI, but I edited. There's a lot of Richie in here. I took some swear words out the other day because one of our girls was like, you said the S word in there. And I was like, yeah, that's probably a bad idea. So I took a lot of that out. There's a lot of anecdotes of the crossover between the music industry and moving into agency recruiting. There's some interesting stuff in that way because there is a lot of crossover. I am an agent of people and of my clients. So there's some of that. There's some really bad experiences in the world of recruiting. And then it kind of goes into a how-to for first agencies and internal recruiters, how to deal with AI. And then it goes into job seekers, what you should and should not be doing. Like, it's fine and good. You don't think people are reading cover letters to just say, hey, ChatGPT, make me a cover letter. Here's a job description. Great. But when that one time you had a shot at getting a job and someone sees a ChatGPT cover letter that's clearly ChatGPT, you probably blew your shot because people are still offended by it. I don't know how long that'll last or what the outcome will be, but that's kind of what it is. There's there's a guide for agencies that goes step by step. What parts need to stay human in order to live through this as an agency? And then job seekers, it just discourages it, auto applying and things like that. So it's pretty long for me to write over 200 pages on recruiting was I'm a creative writer, so I had to lock myself back in a lot and come away from all the anecdotes. It gets a little too wordy at points, but it's pretty good. It'll release late October, so
Got it. Late October release. That was going to be my very next question: is when is the book available?
I don't have a set date. And I thought I was ready before. I was gonna do it at the end of this month, and then Mike Pedetto, a friend, released his. His is hardcover. He's a funny guy with a huge following. I'm like, I'm just gonna get way away from him, and I was gonna do a little more rewriting. I'm pretty happy. I just got this proof like last week, and I'm pretty happy with where it's at now. So I think I'm ready, but late October.
Didn't you tell me earlier that your daughters are 8 and 11 years old or something
Yeah.
like that? And so they're flipping through 200 pages reading what dad wrote?
Well, there was in the initial part, there was a dedicate, and this was the 8-year-old, and I had forgot I had done it, but she, I mentioned them in the beginning of the book, and it said something like, for Hannah and Leah, so someday you may never have to work with a shitty recruiter. So, so, and then mom heard it, and then I'm like, okay, so maybe being edgy isn't the time right now. So we went through and changed some stuff.
So you'll never have to work with a better than bad recruiter.
Right.
Terrific. Boy. So it's coming out in late October. Is it going to be hardcover or is it
It'll
just
be
soft cover?
Kindle. No, I'm not doing that to people. It's gonna be soft. I don't know what
Soft
his
cover.
cost. Yeah, soft cover. It'll be under $20, and it'll be available on Kindle.
And who's your target audience? Because I heard you talking to both other agency owners and to candidates.
Yeah,
So
I want it to be good for both, and a lot of what I've been doing, and kind of, so 2 years ago I had like 3 or 4 thousand followers on LinkedIn, right? The way that I kind of became known, and I'm at almost 50 now, 50,000. So it was by being transparent about the agency process, right? So the idea behind the book was originally going to be called something like Recruiting with Love and Bacon, because there was a joke about bacon that I used to do. Some people love it, some people hate it. So the whole thing was transparency. What are we doing when we're recruiting? And why does it matter to you? Why does it matter how a recruiter thinks? Well, it matters tremendously now in an oversaturated job market. So my whole shtick has been transparent. Like, I don't care who knows my fees. I don't care who knows the salary range. Like, all of these things just save time. Because at the end of the day, I have the same tools as everybody else. I have the same fees as everybody else. I have almost the same everything, but the thing that sets us apart is our grit and our grind and who we work with. So being transparent about the process is something I was taught not to be an agency, big agency, right? We didn't want the client to know what our upcharge was on contract. We didn't want the candidate to know. So when we were in contract recruiting, just to give you an example, if I charged a client $100 an hour for a business analyst, I would go to the business analyst, and I didn't do this, but I was taught to go to the business analyst and say, I can probably get you 45 an hour. And then the company is keeping 55. And this wasn't an everyday occurrence, but it was enough where it bothered me. So when I set out at this company, what we were going to do is we were going to be fair to everyone and tell them everything. So if I get a client like the DOD, or DOW now, they know I'm charging this. I'm going to pay the person this, and I'm going to upcharge you this to cover my recruiter, my insurance, my benefits, and everything else. So we know, everybody knows what it is. There's no hiding anything. When we go to a candidate, we say, listen, this process takes 2 interviews. It's going to take about 2 weeks. When we submit you, we're going to give them one number. It is not going to be a range. So I need to know the number you're going to accept at right now, because that's what we're going to push for throughout the process. A lot of agencies come back with, when I was interviewing, even I need this, and they come back always 10 grand under. Listen, I said I needed this coming in the door. It's not a discussion anymore. So we took all that out. It works mostly. We've only had one time where the company came in under on the offer, but it was because our guy had a little less knowledge than he was supposed to per his resume. But they said, well, we're going to offer 90 instead of 100. And if he's up to speed at 90 days, we'll give him the full 100. And that was fine. So, but we were clear that he needed 100 coming in the door. So they knew they were going to have to do something to, they know us, right? So, yeah, I have no idea what
How
you
long
asked
have
me.
you operated in this? How long have you operated in this transparent fashion? For the last 2.5 years that you've been
Yeah,
running
two and a
general
half. Our
administration?
last company was not like that. There was a lot of stuff going on that really bothered me there too. And I knew the guy that owned it for 20 years. So I didn't feel good about it. Right before everybody got laid off or whatever, I had stepped out of management on a Tuesday because I couldn't be part of the leadership of it. I was already in interviews at other jobs. And then he let go of the entire team. But it was something that I wasn't going to be able to stick with anyway. So it's not worth it. I'd rather go swing hammers, than lie to people all day. It doesn't make sense to me.
Even though it's not a sub theme of today's episode, it's how to run an agency with high transparency and ethics. Sounds like it could
Yeah,
have been. Yep.
right. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
Good.
So, yeah.
Tell me about unbreakable hiring system.
So that's really the real answer to that is the only way to have it. It's almost a joke. It's almost an inside joke now, an unbreakable hiring system. It's all just back to basics with everything. We have all of you're not going to trick anybody. You're not going to have a tool that's going to find some person somewhere else that maybe nobody else can find. That's why it's laughable that agency recruiters are always like, you probably can't find the people I can find because of blah, blah, blah. Well, no, it's not true. And I can probably do it for free without the tools because that's how we were taught. So really the unbreakable hiring systems is I talk to people on the phone. I do my screens on video and we sometimes record part of them just so we can have a better pitch going in. Sticking to your actual needs and understanding the problems of the client instead of just a job description, that's unbreakable. If I know what you need, regardless of the tech you need, that's going to come. It's a saturated marketplace. So if I know what you really need culturally, what problem is going on, and that I'm going to put a personal touch into it, that's pretty unbreakable, right? I think most of what we'll see, hopefully, going in the future is like the difference between our 11-year-old and 8-year-old. The 11-year-old loves the iPad, right? Loves it. Talks to her friends. She doesn't even care if she sees her friends in person because she can talk to them on FaceTime. The 8-year-old does not want to be texted. She would tell us to stop texting if we're doing a group text. She doesn't want to be on the iPad, maybe her games once in a while, but she wants to play board games and be outside. And that's a shift. So we're shifting back to people miss being around people, really. So being unbreakable is going back to basics.
I think that's a great place to close. Unbreakable is going back to basics. The purpose of this podcast, the people who help people, is for us to talk to each other, to share ideas, share the things that were working for us, and to share our philosophies. And Richie, I think from beginning to end, that's what you've been doing. The things that you've decided, when I have my own agency, I'm going to run it this way, sounds like exactly how you run it. And then exactly how you talk to your audience on LinkedIn and what you've put into your book. Could you hold that up one more time? The book that's coming out in October, Head and Heart. Okay. Winning the AI recruiting war for agency owners and for candidates alike.
Yeah.
Terrific. I love it.
Okay.
All right, Richie, if somebody's heard something today and they'd like to get in touch with you or like to seek you out, what are the best ways to get in contact with you?
I'm always on LinkedIn and I'm pretty quick with my email. But email gets buried sometimes. If you put a note in a connection request so you don't have to use an InMail, that's probably the best way. I am caught up on my connection request, so you don't have to wait a month to get an answer.
All right, what I'll do is I will include your email, your LinkedIn, and your website address when we post this video on YouTube and Spotify. Richie, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today, and thank you for sharing the philosophies behind underground administration, how you run it, and how you built unbreakable hiring systems with high ethics and high transparency.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Craig.
Thanks, Richie. It's been my pleasure.